Good evening and welcome to PBS Fort Wayne. This is a good show for you tonight to watch because we're going to have some information that you might find very helpful, or if not you, perhaps someone in your family. I'm the host of the show, Sandy Thomson, but our real guests are coming up in a minute. I will be introducing them to you. We're going to talk with AARP representatives, and while we're going to learn a little bit more about the things that they do beyond what you normally say that they do, and we're going to focus on a special program they have on Fraud Watch. How about that? That's something that seems like nowadays is much more common, so we need some information and some good tips on how to handle that. Okay, let's introduce and meet some of our guests tonight. Right next to me, you're going to find Emily Gordon. Emily came up from
Indianapolis. Yep.
I always say Indianapolis. Okay. And it came up from Indianapolis from the central office there, and she's the director of community engagement. So you're a pretty active woman. And how long have you been with AARP, Emily?
This is coming up on 3 years now, and yeah, I've been very busy, but I enjoy what I get to do. So
first time in Fort Wayne?
No, I get to come up to Fort Wayne quite a lot actually. So I'm up here probably once a month or so with my volunteers, who you're going to meet in a second.
I know, and you've got a good group of volunteers. First of all, in the center we have Ed. I think that you would know that Ed is the one in the center there. Raupfer. Ed, volunteer with AARP?
That is correct.
For how long, Ed?
Probably 8 years.
Oh, a long time. All right, we're speaking to a man with experience then. And Ruth Ford, thank you for volunteering for AARP. We had a chance to chat a little bit before the show, and Ruth comes to AARP with a lot of experience.
I do.
A lot of different programs that you were involved with and headed up at Huntington University. She tried to retire, that didn't work. And now she's been volunteering for AARP. You must love it.
I definitely do. I've been very involved with CARFIT and other aspects and other issues on aging. It's very important for us to be informed, and AARP is a real advocate for us.
Yes, it is for sure. And I said to you that most of us have a concept or an idea of what we think AARP does, but we're going to go beyond that tonight. Let's start with you, Emily. Give me an overview, again, what most people think AARP does.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to people's minds often is that AARP is just insurance, or it might be some good discounts when you turn 50. But I'm here tonight, hopefully, to show everyone that we're a little bit more than that. I was telling you before the show, we're the nation's largest nonpartisan nonprofit in the country.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we have about 38 million members. Nationwide, we're in all 50 states and 3 territories we have state offices in. And so our work, it goes far and wide, and then right down into the local level in our local communities as well.
And I'm sure it will do nothing but grow. We had an attorney on here recently who said that every day, 10,000 people turn 65 in the country. Yeah. So your audience, is certainly going to continue to grow with that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Ed, can you jump in on this? And are there other things that you thought AARP did before you got involved, or that your family or friends might ask you about?
Well, the reason I got involved with AARP is I moved back to Fort Wayne after several years away in Toledo, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And my mother and my mother-in-law both needed caregiving.
Okay.
And so we were going to start taking care of them. I mean, my mom lived in her own house, and then eventually I moved her across the street with another home, and I was able to go back and forth. But there's a lot of things about caregiving, doctors, hospitals, and what's available, what programs. And I went to a meeting sponsored by AARP on caregiving.
Yeah.
And I was impressed. And my wife and I then became volunteers off of that meeting.
Is your wife still involved?
Yes.
Oh my, well,
She's one of the
goodness
best.
sakes. See, if we had a fourth seat, we could have put her in there as well. Okay, Ruth, what about you? What drew you to, since you're the most recent volunteer with the organization, what drew you to it? Why did you want to become involved?
When I was doing some doctoral work 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to go to the national headquarters and actually do research. There's been a lot of very valuable research that's come out of some of the aging issues.
Yeah.
And then I've been very involved with occupational therapists and doing driver safety activities with CarFit, and we have a very valuable driver safety program.
Oh, driver safety. See, I didn't know that.
Through AARP?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So, I mean, there would be one in Fort Wayne then? Yes?
Well, you go on the website and find an area that would provide the driver safety, and there's a variety of different programs going on.
Oh, that is cool to know.
Yeah, if you go aarp.org and look up driver safety, you can get all the information there about it. It's a really great program.
Emily, question about that driver program, because this has come up several times here on Life Ahead. When people talk about maybe a parent or a grandparent that is maybe beginning to get dementia, Alzheimer's or something, one of the conditions within the dementia umbrella, and they feel that they need to remove the car keys from them. Mm-hmm. And so you're waving on that, and somebody said that there's a program, a driving program that can evaluate that. Go ahead, Ruth.
So it's the program for the caregivers is called We Need to Talk, but also for the driver, if they want to question whether they should be driving, they can certainly do through the driver safety program and also through the CarFit. There's opportunities for them to get more information about whether they should be continuing to drive, or what are some of the alternatives. You don't have to stop driving. Maybe there's ways to grade down to be safer on the road, because driving has changed so radically in the last few years.
I'm scared to drive nowadays.
It's so
Good
true.
luck driving back and forth from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Ruth, thank you for telling us that. And again, this is a comment and a question that we get quite a lot about taking the keys away from them, and it's an emotional thing. Right. We've had all sorts of recommendations from having the doctor tell them that it's time to maybe, and you guys would know better than I, keeping the car there in the garage even, so they don't feel like it's the car's taken away. But then you just say, hey, let's go get in your car and I'll drive you to get your prescription, something like that. What do you think, Ed? You're shaking your head on
yes,
that.
I went through that with my father.
Oh, did you?
And I sat down with my dad and I said, because I'd driven with him and his driving got kind of erratic.
Yeah.
And I sat down with my dad and I said, Dad, your driving's not very good any longer. And I said, I don't want you to hurt yourself, but I know you wouldn't want to hurt somebody else. And
Good way to approach it.
And I said, I'm not taking your keys away from you, but I think you need to consider that. And my father had his car, and he kept all his things in his trunk. That was his
That was his space.
And so my father, all he did was he'd go out, he'd roll up the garage door, start up the vehicle, he'd pull it out, and he'd do what he wanted to do within the car, and then he'd pull it back in. And
that was enough to
that was enough to satisfy him.
Yeah, and to make him still feel like he had the independence.
That's
I think
exactly right.
Is the question. And I do want to remind you all, if you've not watched Life Ahead before, our goal, our purpose is always to provide information and education on topics that you will probably face at some time in your life ahead, and we'll have some information to go by. Now, also, you'll see that phone number that's right there on the bottom of the screen. You'll see that periodically here during this show. You can call us. I've got 3 people right here that are experts in this area that can help answer your phone calls and perhaps give you some direction that you might want individually. Okay, all right, let's talk a little bit, Emily, about Fraud Watch. That's a big topic, and I love the name because that's really what it is if we're talking about scams and it's fraud. It's
Yeah.
just fraud. But AARP's gotten a grip on that and have really designed a good program. Can you talk about that with me?
Yeah.
And we also have some information that we can show you on the screen as well, some slides. Go
We'll
ahead.
make sure we get the information out there for everyone. But AARP has a National Fraud Watch Network, which is our program. It's really two-part. Part of it is educating people so that they can recognize how to spot a scam and how to recognize one.
Yeah.
And we always say, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam.
Oh, that's
and so
good.
our goal is to let people know what's happening out there, stay up to date with the latest things that we're seeing, but then also provide support for victims. And so what I hope people take away from this evening is that these people who are doing the scams and fraud, they're really criminals. These are crimes.
Sure.
And so people are victims of a crime. And I hope that people will take away that there doesn't need to be shame around that. I think sometimes people feel embarrassed or might feel discouraged to report if they have been scammed. But hopefully remembering that this is criminal activity. And
Right.
yeah, so.
I know there are millions of dollars that are lost every year because of scams, but and there's actually a national record of that dollar amount, but they figure it's at least twice that because, as you mentioned, a lot of
don't
people
report.
don't report it, especially some certain scams. They might be too embarrassed to admit that they got taken on something. Let's talk about some of the types of scams or fraud that are current right now or most popular.
Yeah, I guess what we're seeing the most of, top of the list, every month our Fraud Watch team comes out with the top scams that we're seeing. And so when I was doing our research for tonight's episode, the top of the list was employment scams. And so, you know, you might not be looking for a job, but somebody you know might be, and they're seeing a job ad that comes up on a website or a web page. It looks great, it's in your local community, you click on the link, and really what's happening is they're trying to get your information from you. They're trying to get you to send your social security number because you're applying for a job, your email address, where you live, things like that, taking that and then stealing your identity essentially. And so that's kind of top of the list what we're seeing right now. Another one is romance scams.
Yeah, that's one that you know you see a lot about that on TV a lot. You know, Dr. Phil I think does a lot of shows on romance scams, and that's one that probably is underreported because people are very embarrassed. But
Yeah.
you know, many people, men and women, have lost their entire retirement.
Exactly. And I think what happens with the romance scams is that you're trusting someone and you're building a relationship with them. Sometimes what's happening and we're seeing is we're meeting people online and you haven't met them in person. And so people are, you know, trusting these people that they think they know who they are, and then ultimately they're getting scammed out of money, or maybe they're being asked to invest in their loved one's business or something like that. And it just kind of spirals from there, but it's very, very, very common.
Who, if you can give a profile, falls into that category of susceptible to a romance scam?
I would say anyone is susceptible to a romance scam. I do think that our research shows that scammers tend to target people over 50 because they think that that's where the wealth is, that's where the money is, where people have savings, they have retirement savings. And so I think that people over 50 tend to be more of a target, but anybody can fall victim to one of these romance scams. I've seen people young and older.
And for older people, they might also assume, oh, they've lost their partner, their spouse, or whatever, so they're lonely, so they'll fall into this. I know someone from this area, actually, that's younger, in 30s, I think, it would be in the 30s, husband and wife that are professionals, and the husband is even a teacher and a coach and, you know, whatever else. And I mean, they're really smart people, but fell into believing a website. And of course, that ruined their marriage. And it was a scam. It wasn't at all what they thought that it was going to be. We have a phone call. Let me get to that. and then we're going to get back to more fraud.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This phone call, by the way, is from Shannon, and she says, is there a car model that provides easier access for senior drivers to get in and out? Good question. Okay. Do you have any comments on that? Ruth, you look like you know.
Defer to Ruth.
Well, honestly, it's all individual to the person that is driving the car or getting in and out of the car. Obviously, if you have a 4-door, it's probably going to be easier than a heavy 2-door to get in and out of.
Because of the door weight or what?
Door weight and also the width of the door away from the seat, it just makes it harder.
Oh.
SUVs and trucks, which we all kind of love because you got a line of sight for driving. The problem with them is you have to step up into them. But you know what? Auto industry is now becoming aware of a lot of people having limitations, whether they're aging or disabilities, whatever. So they're putting in arm grab bars, and there are
cool.
after manufacturing devices that can also assist with transfers. And some of the things that we do at CarFit is actually helps them problem solve how to make getting the transfers into the car safer and easier.
Yeah, those are good suggestions. And, you know, I've found myself that if I'm getting in somebody else's car, again, it's the SUV or a big truck or whatever, it's like, oh, that's a big step. That is a big step. And I also just recently heard from a friend that found an automobile that when you put it in park or when you stop and you put it in park,
it comes down.
It lowers.
Yeah.
It lowers.
Yes,
some of
the modified vans will actually lower so you can do the transfers in and out. So there are vehicles that will go down. And many of the city buses will do that too.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good recommendation. And we also have another call coming in here. I'll get that in just a second for you as they finish here with the phone operator. And this is from Lewis. Lewis, by the way, thank you so much for watching us here on Life Ahead. We always try to have good information, and we'll try to have a good answer for you here on your particular problem. Lewis says this. He said, I'm getting pestered. I love that, pestered, twice a week asking if I'm interested in selling my home. I hear that happens a lot here.
Yeah.
If I'm interested in selling my home. Is this a scam? And how do they get my information? Emily.
Yeah, well, thank you for calling in. And I think if you're getting called twice a week asking if somebody can buy your home, I would imagine it probably is a scam. So you're right to kind of think that way, have your senses go off and say maybe something doesn't feel quite right. I think your information gets out there in a variety of different ways. I think, you know, when you're filling out a form to sign up for something or you're buying something, the companies out there have really clever ways these days of gathering people's information. And so your phone number might be out there in the internet or in the world somewhere, and that's how they're getting your number. My advice would be to definitely report this. We have, AARP has our Fraud Watch network. We have a phone number where you can call and report scams, but also we have, if you go to our website, which they're showing on the screen now, aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. If you head there, we have a scam tracking map. So it's you type in your zip code and you can have a look and see if there are other people in the area that are going through the same thing. So they're getting the same type of phone calls, or there's other similar scams that are happening in your area. So I pulled it up for Indianapolis this morning, and you see the map of the area, and the different scams are categorized by the number of people who have been victimized in your area.
So we could do that for the Fort Wayne area as well?
Exactly. You can do it wherever you live in the country. Type in your zip code, and it will pull up local scams close to you, so you can see what's happening. And the more you know, the more you can keep an eye out and make sure that you're not falling victim to anything. But being suspicious of a call like that is definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah, good for you, Lewis, for being a little bit apprehensive about that. And again, you know, they caution of giving out your email address or your phone number. Do be careful about that. Absolutely. I remember once when I went to the home show, and you know how you can sign up for all kinds of things. Wish I'd never done that. I mean, for the next 2 months, I had so many phone calls from kitchen cabinets to plants to everything, you know.
Right.
And I thought, I don't think I'll do that anymore. I don't think
Yeah.
I'll give
Right.
out my information again. Ed.
One thing I was going to say, there are legitimate companies that are buying houses, and a lot of
Yes.
times they get those from the title records and such. But and like anything, if you're getting calls from numbers you do not recognize, just don't answer them.
Right.
Right.
That's the main thing, you know, links, if you're on the computer, links that you don't recognize and such, don't click on them.
Right, exactly. You know, if you see something on Facebook or you get an email from an address you've never heard of, you don't know the people, just don't even click on it. I've heard, and tell me if I'm correct or not, that like on the phone, if you get a scam phone call, and if you even click on that number, maybe you don't actually talk and say, hello, how are you? But it's a fake number, you can tell. So you just pick up the phone and then hang it back up. But the fact you picked up the phone lets their computers know this is a valid home and a valid
That is correct.
phone number, and I'll keep calling it again. And I'll also sell that number to another company.
Yeah. So it's always important to block those calls so that each time you get them, before you even do anything with, just go click it on your cell phone, just put block.
Good idea. Good idea. Again, block, 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 delete, 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 you know, is the best thing to do. Okay, Ed, I think you're on the line with us. Ed, what question do you have for our panel this evening?
Oh, thank you for having this program. Well, my call, I'm 71, and regarding seniors who are in a nursing home and they don't have no family, no one cares, you know, about grandma or grandpa, are we finding any fraud in these seniors stuck in a nursing home, their property being sold or something like that, their home? That's a little bit more serious than a handyman coming around and trying to patch a roof. And people's property being swindled, more or less. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Who can address that?
I'm gonna try and take that one.
You're all looking at each other.
Yes,
You know.
that's a I guess that's a question I hadn't even thought about, or we
Yeah.
haven't come across, you know, and when we study these things about scams, that really hasn't been one that.
Well, we appreciate Ed for bringing that up. Emily?
Yeah, I think to Ed's point, as something that we might not have read about specifically before coming here, but what I would say is scammers are becoming so much more intelligent and smart with how they are figuring out ways to take money from people.
Right.
And so I would say it's probably pretty likely that people are figuring out ways to take advantage of those who don't have a way of defending themselves.
Right.
And so it's scary, but they're figuring out these new ways to steal money.
And even like for telephone calls, they figured out if they put your area code, like 260, you think it's a local call, and so you answer
Exactly.
it. Ruth, you have a comment.
Yes, with our property tax, there's now a fraud line that you can.
Oh, I saw that.
So I would recommend that you get that protection. It's free through the county, and it would help protect even a person in a nursing home. So as soon as you would be targeted, they would notify you that somebody was targeting your property.
I think it's just the Allen County Treasurer.
Correct.
I remember when I got my property tax invoice, if you will, there was a separate flyer in there about the fraud watch, if you will. Let's go back to fraud watch. We're getting very close on time here this evening. Emily, can you mention some of the other ones that we have in addition to employment and romance?
Yeah, I was actually going to let Ed tell a story about a type of scam that he actually had experience with, and to do with technology and using your computer and things like that.
Because technology is an area
Technology
of scams.
is another one.
Yes, my wife was on her internet account and email account, excuse me, and she couldn't get into it. And so she called our email provider and found out that somebody had hacked into it and taken over her account. So we knew we had to call the email people, and they had to set up suspend her old one, put a new one on. But now what do we do? Because their emails have financial information, all this personal information. And so I called the AARP fraud line, and the person that answered the call was a former Justice Department employee. And he went through exactly what to do, put us at ease that this happens, these are the steps you're going to need to take.
We can solve that.
And you can solve it.
Thanks to Fraud Watch. You know, I just hate that we've used up our whole show. Hopefully, maybe you'll come back sometime and we can finish the many questions that we have here. AARP, again, website. You can check into that for information. You can check into the Fraud Watch as well. And you can either report claims there or find out what's the most common thing here in your own particular area. Can't thank these people enough, but I will try. Ruth, Ed, Emily, thank you so much. And drive safely going back to Indianapolis. The rest of you, I'll see you next week right here at 7:30. Good night.
The preceding program on PBS Fort Wayne was made possible in part by...
When I got a call saying my water bill was past due, all I could think about was, oh no, my plant babies. The guy told me I had to go make a payment at a crypto ATM in town.
Recognize fraud sooner with AARP, so your money lives longer.
Crypto ATM.
Lumina Foundation, proud to support The Class, a docuseries that follows high school seniors during the pandemic as they navigate the road to college. Available anytime at pbs.org.